Hi, my name is Jillian Bush, and today I will be talking to you about the impact of texting on the English language. Today I will cover the following topics. What is English? What is texting? How has texting grown over the years? The impact of texting on the English language, the impact of text use while in the classroom, my opinion, and finally, my works cited. So, what is English? According to the Oxford English Dictionary, English is of or relating to the West Germanic language spoken in England and also used in many varieties throughout the world. In week 12, we read that David Crystal estimated the number of first language speakers at approximately 320 to 380 million in 2003, making English the third most spoken native language in the world after Chinese and Spanish. So, what makes a language a language? In week 2, we read that Thomas Piles and John Algeo defined language as a system of conventional vocal signs by means of which human beings communicate. You may ask yourself, well, what makes up those conventional vocal signs? We call them linguistics. What are linguistics? According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, linguistics is the study of human speech including the units, nature, structure, and modification of language. Linguistics can consist of morphemes, inflections, synthetic language, analytic language, grammar, morphology, syntax, and lexicon. However, I won't talk more about what English is since we just spent the last 13 weeks discussing that. So, moving on. What is texting? According to the Oxford English Dictionary, texting is the action or practice of sending text messages from one mobile phone to another. Texting is also known as SMS, which is short message service. According to David Crystal's book, Texting, The Great Debate, the first text was sent in 1992. While communicating through text messages, people use textisms simply because it's quicker and more convenient. So what is a textism? A textism is a largely sound-based or phonological form of spelling that can reduce the time and cost of texting. I found some examples of textisms. The first one, in 2001, the Guardian newspaper held a poetry competition. However, the poem had to be written within 160 characters, representing a text message limit. I'll give you a second to read the first place entry listed below. So, how many of you were easily able to read that entry? I know for a fact that I struggled throughout it. My second example is from a John Humphreys article named I Hate Text Messages, How Texting is Ruining Our Language. The main example that Humphreys gives is IMHO URG8. Now, when I first read that, I had no clue what it would mean. So as I continued reading the article, I found that it means, in my humble opinion, you are great. Confusing, right? So, how popular is the texting culture? I found an article about a study conducted at Midwestern University. It discusses the adolescent usage of texting versus adult usage of texting. I found that 74% of adolescents use text messaging, while only 44% of adults use text messaging. So, what type of communication do people prefer? The study conducted at Midwestern shows that 59% prefer text messaging as their main way of communication. 17% prefer phone calls, 9% prefer instant messaging, and only 7% prefer email as their way of communication. Which is your preferred way of communication? Does your way of communication change due to time availability and the information being shared? Keep these questions in mind as you continue to communicate throughout your life. So, what is the growing usage of texting? In week 2, we read that spoken and written language influence one another, which leads me to 2 questions really fast. Do you think written text language has impacted the spoken English language? And has the written text language impacted the written English language in general? According to David Crystal, the amount of text sent per month has increased drastically throughout the years. As you can see, in 1995, only 0.4 text messages were sent per month. In 2000, it increases to 35 per month. In 2001, we hit 12.2 billion text messages sent per month. And then 4 years later, in 2005, we see that more than 1 trillion text messages were sent per month. So, in all of those texts, how many do you think you send per month? Here is another example of the rising number of text messages sent. This is from a study done in the UK from 2001 to 2008. In June of 2001, there's only 0.95 billion text messages sent per month. And the reason I act as if 0.95 billion is not a lot is because in June of 2008, there's 6.31 billion text messages sent per month. So, in all of these text messages being sent per month, are we using proper English to communicate, or are we engaging in text orthography? Text orthography, do we use it in written English? The Oxford English Language Dictionary defines orthography as the conventional spelling system of a language. Types of orthography can include emoticons, which could be adding a smiley face or putting X's to represent kisses. It could also include letter number homophones, which could be LAR, which means later, or WYD for what you doing. It could also include acronyms and initialisms such as TTYL, talk to you later, OMG for oh my gosh, or BFF for best friend forever. Another type of text orthography could include non-conventional spellings, such as typing out school with a K instead of a CH, or using the word gonna instead of going to, such as I'm going to talk to her. You might text out, I'm gonna talk to her. So, how does this text orthography influence the use of English in the classroom? Well, the Pew Internet and American Life Writing Technology and Teens Project found that 50% of teens admit to using improper capitalization and punctuation in school assignments. In the same project, we find that 85% of teens aged 12 to 17 engage in CMC, which is computer-mediated communication. 38% of teens say they have used text shortcuts such as LOL in school assignments. And 25% of teens say they use emoticons in their school writing. So, think back for a second to when you first had your cell phone and you started texting. Did you use text shortcuts? If you did you include them in your school writing? What kind of grade would that get you if you did? While reading the International Journal of English Linguistics, I found that a Polytechnic University did a study on the use of texting and how it influences students. Usage among students of their cell phones show that 65.9% of students create their own abbreviations, and 34.1% of students copied abbreviations created by friends in schoolwork. These abbreviations include emoticons, initialisms, and letter number homophones, as previously discussed. Effects of abbreviated writings on academic work and performance also show a struggle. 52% of students displayed abbreviated writings, 33% of students displayed reading problems, and 19% of students displayed delayed script marking. So while these numbers show how texting impacts language, texting can also impact performance overall in the classroom. A study conducted at Midwestern University shows us the following statistics. 99% of students believe they should be allowed to use their cell phones in class. 75% admit to being distracted in class due to cell phone usage. 90% admit to sending or receiving text messages during classroom presentations. 10% reported sending or receiving text messages during an exam. And 3% report to sending or receiving information on the exam. In the journal called Effects of Text Messaging on Academic Performance, we read the following. Cognitive psychology suggests that texting while listening to a lecture may tax a finite attention pool. When compared to those performing a single task, participants alternating between distinct activities required additional transition time and demonstrated more errors. So, let's see how accurate this statement is. In the study done at Midwestern, there were 37 students involved, 7 males and 30 females, and they were split into 2 groups. Both groups were required to take a text speed test, which they had to text as many abbreviations used in formal texting in their everyday life as fast as they could. Secondly, both groups had to watch a 10-minute video. The first group answered 15 standardized questions via text message during the video. The second group, however, watched the video with no distractions from their phone. After the video, both groups were given 21 questions to answer. 16 of those questions were about the video that was watched. 5 of those questions corresponded to the student's cell phone model and how they felt about cell phone usage in the classroom. The result of this study supports my opinion on this subject, and the results are as follows. The result information given from the study reads as follows. The results of a one-way analysis of variance indicated a significant difference between groups on the post-lecture test, with the lecture-only condition performing significantly better than the lecture and text message group. These findings provide support for the view that engaging in text messaging does adversely impact retention of classroom material. This statement leads me to my opinion. I believe that text messaging negatively impacts the English language, as well as the fact that research proves written language in the classroom has gone downhill. I don't only believe this due to my research, but I have witnessed this firsthand. As stated in my introduction at the beginning of class, I am an English education major. While doing my student teaching in a 6th grade classroom, I noticed that many students struggled with writing. Many students demonstrated text orthography in their assignments, which ultimately led to a lower grade. So now I have a question for you. What do you think? After listening to this presentation, do you feel as though text messaging has impacted the written and spoken language negatively or positively? Also, do you think that texting has influenced overall in classroom setting? Thank you.